Hi everyone, this is the Psychic Senses Clinic. With the clinics, I usually review the questions that everyone has been sending me about the current energies, just so you guys can get an overview, a good sense of what has been happening from a spiritual perspective. Okay, I'm going to go down each I'm going to go down the list of each of the questions rather and talk about them in a little bit of detail. There has been 6 questions that keep coming up in everybody's email and everybody's requests. So I wanted to go ahead and get to those. First question. When will the energy subside? When will the energy subside? So I know that it has been quite hectic lately. Right? Everybody has been feeling it, right? So we just had a few planets go direct, which is I think 3 out of the 6 that were in retrograde went direct. We still got Mercury in retrograde, so you're still going to be feeling some intensity when it comes to communication. Technology is going to continue to act up for a little bit, okay? Best thing I can tell you to do is, number 1, get rest, right? Because when we are tired, we can tend to be irritable, aggravated, and we may take things the wrong way, in a way that it's not intended. So definitely get your rest. Number 2, as far as technology, have backups. I have been experiencing technical glitches back to back to back. So have backups as much as you can, to help alleviate some of those issues too. You should start to feel a reprieve around October 25th. 26th. You should definitely start to feel a lot lighter as we go into the beginning of November. Okay, but right now a lot of clearing is taking place for the collective, where our spirit guides are asking us to just simply look at what's in front of us, right? Look at what we need to change, look at what we need to do better before we go into 2022. Okay, so that's about the energies. All right, so again, for most of you, you should really begin to feel a reprieve around November. Of course, this is general, so if you do want a personal session, feel free to book with me. If you're already a VIP member, of course, you just use the link that I provided. If you're not a VIP member but would like to become one, there's also a link for that will be in the comment section. What can Mercury retrograde cause? This is a good question because a lot of people tend to blame Mercury retrograde for everything, and they do it without knowing that some of the stuff they're going through can actually be their fault and not Mercury retrograde. So for example, people tend to bring up the exes a lot during Mercury retrograde, right? Like when we're going through retrograde, that's when the exes come back. And it's a possibility of that happening, of course. However, I've been telling my folks too, is that if your ex is a toxic individual, you have to ask yourself why they can even contact you to begin with, right? Now, I'm not talking about the really, really narcissistic douchebags out here, right? The ones who will stalk you and stuff I'm not talking about that. There are some narcissistic folks, male and female, who you just simply can't get rid of that easily, okay? I'm talking about people who you should move away from, but you're just still clinging on to hope, right? When they come back, it sort of like strokes your ego a little bit, right? Because they're like, hey, they're back in my inbox. This feels kind of good, You have to ask yourself the question of why they even have access to you to begin with. So usually what I tell folks is, if you're done with a connection, if it's a karmic connection and you have no dealings with that person, block. That's all you got to do. Block, mute, go on about your business, right? Because the last thing you want to do is to be caught up in situationships, when you could have easily just left the whole thing alone. Okay, sometimes the exes do come back, but they come back because they are a distraction. You don't need a distraction, right? So again, block, mute, delete, do whatever you got to do, but also make sure that you're not blaming Mercury retrograde for something that you yourself have caused, right? Mercury retrograde can cause communication issues, yes, but If a relationship has taken its course, regardless if it's romantic, familial, business relationship, whatever the case might be, if it's meant to end, it's going to end regardless. Okay, so again, we just want to be careful that we're not blaming Mercury retrograde for things that should be happening or things that we have caused, right? Mercury retrograde can definitely have an impact on technology for sure. You just want to make sure you have backup plans, right? This includes dealing with your car, dealing with phones, business meetings, virtual meetings, things like that. Things can go haywire during Mercury retrograde. So you absolutely want to keep yourself protected throughout all of this. I've been getting a lot of relationship questions lately. A lot of relationship questions. People are confused. And this is because, again, we have a whole bunch of astrological crap happening all at once. So I'm going to go through the planets really, really quickly, what they cause, why we are feeling the retrograde symptoms, and then that should give you some insight, as to why things are the way they are regarding relationships at this moment. Okay, so with all of these energies taking place, so the planets that we had in retrograde. So first, we started off the beginning of the month with the new moon in Libra, and then Pluto ended its retrograde era on October the 6th, right? So we already had a lot of stuff going on at the very beginning of the month. So just in case, when it comes to Pluto, if you didn't know, the planet Pluto is all about finding your power, finding your voice again. Okay, so at the top of the month, many folks were in this sort of foggy state. They weren't exactly sure if they were following their right path. At the top of the month is when I got a lot of career questions. People wanted to know, what should I do about my job? Should I stay where I'm at? Should I go? It was just a whole lot of questions that were coming through for the collective with that. So this is what happens, when we experience that energy with Pluto being in retrograde and then going direct. People then finding their power, finding where they fit in, wanting to get back on track so they can fulfill their goals and their life mission. This is all about transformation and change, right? So a lot of people were feeling this very, very heavily at the top of the month. So then as we went further into the month, we still have Neptune retrograde. Okay, so Neptune is that planet that talks about losing touch with reality a little bit. This is all about being dreamy and, that mysticism also behind your dreams. This is the planet that rules Pisces, right? So of course, as you know, with Pisces, we're that dreamy sign, right? Sometimes they say our head is in the clouds a little bit. So everybody has these dreams that they're talking about right now, right? What they want to fulfill, because deep down within, they know that they're just not really, really, really happy. So a lot of people are starting to say, okay, what do I need to do in order for me to feel fulfilled, right? What do I need to do in order for me to feel as if change is happening on my end, right? What do I need to do in order to feel as though I'm moving in the right direction? Now, some of us feel as though, hey, I've done everything that I could, right? Because remember, we also have that Pluto energy there. We feel as though we've done everything that we could, but there's still a part of us that's like, I'm not living the dream. This is not what my dream was, right? I was expecting something new. I was expecting something better, something different, right? And so again, this is where the Pluto Neptune energy sort of meets. What do I have to do in order to live my dream? What do I have to change in order for me to go to the next level? Right? So this is what's happening for everybody right now. Okay. We also still have Uranus and Saturn in retrograde still. Okay. So Saturn, again, we're talking about the anxiety around doing what is in your best interest. Okay. This is also about authority. So many people, again, a lot of career choices are coming up for a lot of folks. Business, career, making more money, changing the trajectory of their lives, even on social media. I've seen a lot of business owners talk about the different platforms that they're using. Like everybody is getting really strategic about how they're going to go about getting their success. And this is a good thing, right? This is a good thing because for many of us, sometimes we can kind of be a little bit too head forward and we just kind of inadvertently jump in and get ourselves caught up into stuff because we just have that energy of being a go-getter, right? This is really, really true for fire signs. Okay, my North Node is in Aries. So sometimes I'm just like, you know what, gotta do it. Boom, I'm going to get it done. And I don't think about everything else, right? Sometimes my Capricorn rising sign has to come through like, girl, you need to calm down, right? Think this through. And so that's what the spirit team that is surrounding us trying to get us to do, right? Think things through a little bit before we just inadvertently go and do stuff, right? Figure out what our life purpose is. Follow our life purpose. Saturn teaches you the hard stuff, right? Those lessons that you wouldn't have otherwise taken the time to learn. So right now, everybody is sort of in this energy of listening to what their spirit guides are trying to say. Things feel a little bit stagnant. Things feel a little bit rushed. Things feel a little bit pushed, right? Because again, we're in that energy of wanting to bring about something better, even though many of us may not necessarily know how to do that, right? So this is the opportune time for you to connect with your spirit guides, the opportune time for you to connect to them, talk to them, let them know what you're standing in need of, let them know what may confuse you or make you perplexed. They're here to help you, right? So sometimes if you're just sitting there and you're like, hey, I don't see a change on my end, I don't see nothing happening, I'm tired of always having to deal with this. This is especially true if you're talking about things from a monetary perspective. You may want to sit and think about and reconsider, are you really, really talking to your spirit guides the way you should be? Are you including them as a part of your journey? What are you doing to solidify your future, right? Don't forget that your guides are also here to help. They want to help you, okay? Let's see what else. So I talked about Neptune, Saturn, Uranus too, with that planet being in retrograde. That planet is also about rebellion and innovation. So for many of you who are feeling the effects now, a lot of us are going against the grain. The parts of us that we were too timid to show folks before, our belief systems, our value sets, how we want to live our life, even if it goes against the norm. Now we're like, you know what? I'm here. I'm not going to hide my voice. I'm not going to hide myself for anyone. I'm going to do what is necessary as I move along on my journey. And this is what's happening again for the collective, because our spirit team is trying to get us to focus on what's in front of us, not all the crap we're leaving behind. Okay. So again, you want to embrace your authentic, unique self, embrace the innovative you, the rebel you, embrace your unique personality that brings something different and unique to the table. Okay. Jupiter and Mercury retrograde ends on the 18th. So 2 more days of this crap. 2 more. Now, don't get too excited because there again is that shadow period right after Mercury retrograde. Okay, so don't get too excited. Don't put your guards down either. Now, Jupiter is that planet that deals with luck. So a lot of us who felt as though we had that stagnant energy, especially if you're a Capricorn and you're a business owner, you're going to see a lot of things let up for you. Okay. So this includes Capricorn, sun and rising sign, also the moon sign as well. So if you have those Capricorn tendencies of working hard and you're like, I'm so tired of this because I've been working hard and things have not been panning out the way that I know they should have, again, you're about to get a reprieve. Okay, so again, pay attention to what your guides are saying to you. Don't lose faith. Don't lose hope. Now is the time for you to prepare. Okay, because, and trust me when I say this, sometimes we can get really, really frustrated when we don't see the sales coming in as business owners, right? Or we don't necessarily see things happening back to back to back to back. Sometimes it's not always because we should abandon. First of all, I don't think that any of us should abandon what our dreams are. Now, maybe we need to modify it a little bit, right? Do some research, come up with a solid business plan. Absolutely. but we don't need to completely abandon it. So now your spirit guides is saying to you as well, now is the time to look at your business plan. If you don't have one, create one. Talk to someone, right? Because there are so many young women that I see with excellent business ideas, but they don't have the plan yet to implement it. They could be making so much more money. Okay, so again, you want to also make sure that if you're someone who is all about the abundance mindset, that you are aligning yourself with other women who are about the very, very same thing. Okay, you want to align yourself with people who think big, big. That's the key here, right? Because when 2022 come in, a lot of us are going to be having open doors come in. Things are going to start to flow a lot better. Because we went through the clearing stage. We went through the clearing process. We listened to our spirit guides. We did what our spirit guides told us to do. Okay, so that's what you can expect too with that. Now, as far as relationships, I wanted to get a little bit into relationships because I got those questions too. To be quite honest, I did change a lot of what Piscean spirituality do. You know, yes, we do readings, we talk about the spiritual stuff. That's always good, always key, but I got tired of doing love readings because, you know, I will pull cards, and then I noticed there are so many women who come to me with so much potential, and then they'll ask me to pull cards about somebody who they never should have been talking to begin with. The dude wasn't even remotely in their league, right? And so as a reader, that can be exhausting because you're trying to tell your folks, hey, you deserve better. But their heart is so big. They don't really want to let that person go. But you're like, you deserve better. No, go here. This is where your guys want you to go at, right? So I kind of gotten away from the love readings because they're just not my favorite thing to do. I just think as women, there's just so much more out there for us, right? And so with the relationship questions, I don't post as much about relationships, but I will say this. For those few readings that I do about relationships, many of you are going through it right now, okay? And that's because, number one, you're in this space of evolution, transformation, and growth. Your partner is in this space of evolution, transformation, and growth. Now, if your partner is a healthy being, if they're a spiritual person, if they listen to what their spirit guides are saying, regardless who they are, soulmate, twin flame, whatever, if they're listening to what the universe is telling them to do, they're going to be feeling the crunch just like you are, right? If they're not listening to what the universe is telling them to do, they're still feeling the crunch just like you are, but they're going to start to have their tower moments. Okay, so this is why things are feeling like it's just not coming together the way they should. Like you're not necessarily on the same path as your counterpart. It's not that they don't care. It's not that you're not a good fit for each other. It's simply both of you are on two separate roads, two separate journeys. And the universe is like, take a step back a little bit, right? Take a break, stop. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to give up on the connection. Don't make too many, drastic changes right now. Wait until we get up out of this energy for the most part. Now, of course, the caveat is definitely do not stay in a relationship that's toxic or anything that will compromise your safety, health, and well-being, of course. Those are the things you want to exit as quickly as possible, as safely as you possibly can. But aside from that, right, if you don't have to make drastic changes right now, don't do it. Wait until the energy subside so you can see things from a more clearer perspective. Okay, so October, we have a clearing that's taking place for the entire collective. November, if you have not met your person yet, you're preparing to meet your person. You're going to start to see a lot more spirits being lifted up. People are going to be going out a lot more, talking to their folks a lot more. A lot of you will be in a position to meet your forever person through a mutual acquaintance. So as COVID restrictions start to lift, there is that possibility too, of course. Some of this is spiritual. Some of this stuff is just practical, right? COVID got into the way of a lot of people meeting. So if you are in a relationship, in a connection, November should be when both couples or both folks within the couple should start to feel a lot more reprieve together. You can breathe a little bit more. Both of you are not as anxious, okay? Especially if one person is the spiritual counterpart, they're going to be the person that's going to be receiving a lot of signs, a lot of dreams, which will help the one who's not as clairvoyant or not as clairaudient or claircognizant, so that they can understand what's actually is happening too. December, again, if you're not in a relationship, usually with this type of energy, December into February, this is when we're going to start to see a lot of folks come into union. Now, when I say union, these are for the healthy folks. I'm not talking about people who are waiting around for cuffing season. I'm not talking about unequally yoked relationships. I'm not talking about toxic relationships. I'm talking about the souls that have been doing the work so they can meet their forever person. Between December and February, this is when you're going to start to see a lot of people come together. Of course, this is a general reading. If you want something more specific, there are links. If you're listening to this on YouTube, there are links within the comment section so that you can book something more personal. But again, for the general collective, this is what we're all going to start to be seeing. Also, what I have been picking up from Spirit too, April, May is when a lot of people are going to start to feel comfortable. If you're in a new relationship, you're going to start to get your signs. Yes, I need to settle down now. It's okay. This person makes me feel safe. They have shown me that they can be trustworthy, that they are worthy of my time and my attention. Okay. And also the big caveat here, of course, for those who are looking at relationship stuff, your spirit guides want you to take your time. Take your time. I'm repeating this because I keep hearing it. Take your time. Some of you rush relationships. This is why you got into some of the mess you got into before. Your spirit team, I keep seeing 5 to 6 months. For some of you, your spirit team is saying give the relationship 5 to 6 months before you get overly invested. Let the person show you first. Okay. And you, of course, know if this resonates for you. The next thing I want to talk about, clairaudience, because I keep getting that too. Everybody is starting to hear stuff, right? And this it's not unusual for this time frame. You got to think about the season that we're into, right? This is like the witches season too, from a spiritual perspective. So clairaudience, of course, is the ability to clearly hear, okay, what the other side is saying. This is just common for this time. Usually people start off by hearing whispers. Those whispers then turn into words. Those words will then turn into phrases, sentences. If you don't start off hearing a whisper, the other thing people start off hearing too is like a ringing sound, like a bell sound, and then it will turn into a whisper. So everybody is different. But again, this is the season where if you do have psychic gifts and abilities, they are very, very heightened. Last thing I want to talk about, false twins and toxic partners. Like I said before, relationships, it's not really my favorite thing to talk about. But I do want to get into this because a lot of people have been meeting false twins and toxic folks. And this is like the last phase of the journey that you have to go through before you meet your person. Okay, this is like literally when your guys are saying, did you learn the lesson the first time? No, you didn't? Okay. This is why I got to bring this false one to you, because you can't keep repeating the same mistake over and over and over again, right? That's from a spiritual perspective. But when you think about it in a realistic, logical perspective, what we don't heal, we are doomed to repeat, right? And so for many of you, you keep finding the same toxic partners, these same false twins or whatever the case might be, because you're repeating the same cycle over and over and over again. Heal is what Spirit is saying. Don't go from relationship to relationship to relationship, right? Take a step back a little bit. Say, Spirit, what is it that you're trying to show me out of all of this? What is it that I need to see? What is it that I keep repeating that you don't want me to keep repeating, right? And this is one thing that I can say that makes me proud to be a divine feminine, is because for the most part, what I do see with divine feminines, after relationships, we typically take a break, right? We're just like, oh my God, my heart can't handle it for whatever reason. So we take a break. Now, all of us don't do all of the healing work we should, right? But we do some of the healing work at least. Be prepared though, because what is happening too for hetero couples is that a lot of the divine feminines are meeting masculines who have not taken time to heal, right? Because, and we talked about this, how society works. If a relationship doesn't work out for some strange effed up reason, society put the onus on the women, right? Like, oh, it did not work out because she did this. So women feel like they need to go fix themselves, whereas men just be like, oh, okay, I'm just going to hop to the next one. And then they hop to the next one and hop to the next one and hop to the next one. And each time they take their unhealed toxic self and they try to break a woman who's not toxic herself. So the other part of this is the lesson to be learned is that if you are an empath, if you are someone who is healed, someone who has a lot to offer, put up spiritual boundaries. Okay. Put up dating boundaries. Don't be afraid to say, these are my standards. If you can't meet them, I'm not talking to you. That's their problem. That's not yours. Right? So again, the divine feminine is being called to protect herself, protect her space, and protect her household. Okay. So these are the main things that kept coming up in a lot of the emails, questions, and stuff that I've been getting. Of course, like I said, if you do need to book something specific with me to get a more specialized, individualized reading, you can use the links to do so. If you do have any additional questions at all, like I said, I'm here. Just hang tight. All of this mess is almost over. Take care of you. Take care of you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening.